Hello guys, today we are going to the movie review. Movie name is The Thin Red Line 1998, directed by Terence Malick. Is a contemplative war film that explores the human experience of soldiers during the Battle of Caviezel in World War II. Unlike traditional war movie that focus on action and heroism, Malik's fun review and summary. Visuals, styles, and directions. Malik's signature with poetic and aesthetic approach is evident throughout. The film features stunning cinematography capturing the lush landscape of the Pacific and illustrates them with the intense battlefield scans. The use of voice-over narration shows that philosophical inviting viewers to reflect on theme of life, death, and the nature of violent themes and narrative. The thin lines delves into the physiological and spiritual toll of war. It contrasts soldier personal reflections with the shows around them, highlighting human life and the search for meaning amidst destruct. The film doesn't glorify combat but examine the profound impact on individuals' performance and cast. The ensemble cast, including Sean Penn, Adrien Brody, and George Clooney, delivers now the performance that bring humanity to the characters, their inner struggle. George Clooney now performance that bring humanity to the characters, their inner struggles and moments of introspection are central to the film emotional resonance. Overall impressions will not a conventional war film. The thin red line is a powerful meditation on our and extends its slow pacing and poetic narrative may not will not a conventional war film. The thin red line is a powerful meditation on war and extends and its slow pacing and poetic narrations may not appeal to all viewers, but the reception to its introspective style will find it a profound cinematic rating. Generally praised by critics for its artistic and depth, film is considered a modern classic thought. Its contemplative nature make it less assemble for audience expecting traditional war actions. The theme Red Line, directed by Terence Malick, the thin red lines stand as a profound cinematic meditation on war, humanity, and existence, released in 1990. This film is adapt- adaptations of Jim Jones' 1962 novel of the same name, which recounts the Battle of Caviezel during World War II. However, Malik's interpretation is less about the battlefield tactical details and more about the inner lives of the soldiers, the philosophical questions surrounding violence, life, death, and the natural world, visual and artistic style. One of the most striking aspects of Thin Red Line it is visual poetry. Malik employs almost hypnotic cinematography that captures the contrasting beauty and brutality of nature and war. The film is filled with sweeping shot of tropical landscape, crashing waves, and sands, jungles after juxtaposed with intimate close-ups. Enhance the film's spatial tone, the cinematography led by John Toll elevate the film beyond a typical war movie, transforming it into a visual sympathy that individual viewers should reflect on the interconnectedness of life and death. The film meditating on deliberately slow pace, allowing moment of silence and stillness to breathe, which reinforces its meditation's quality, narrative structure, and the themes. Unlike conventional war films that focus on action sequence and heroism, the Thin Red Lines employ a non-linear poetic narrative structure. It weaves together the perspective of multiple characters, each grappling with their own fears, hope, and philosophical questions. Voice-over narrative often poetic the philosophical provide insight into their inner world, replacing themes of accidents. The central themes revolve around the quality of violence and beauty, the randomness of death, and the search of meaning amidst chaos. Malik questions the morality of war, portraying its both a destruction force and a face of the natural order. The film explores how ordinary soldiers come from extraordinary circumstances, emphasizing their human vulnerability and resilience. The recurring motif of nature's interference, you crashing grief, surviving animals in the jungle serve as a reminder of the vast, impersonal universe in which human conflict are insignificant yet profoundly impactful of individual life, characters, and performance. The film the film features an ensemble cast including Sean Penn, Adrien Brody, George Clooney Jones, Cully, and Woody Harrelson, among other actors bring a layered, introspective of human consequences in Penn's portrayals of lightened with philosophically and spiritual undertone. The thin red lines in much philosophy, including it as it is a war film, Malik explore themes of free or capacity for both cruelty and compassion. The film also contemplates the idea of innocence lost, the randomness of death, and possibility of grace amidst suffering. Characters grapples with questions about the extent of good, the possibility of grape. Soundtrack and sound design. The film soundtrack featuring classical compositions and natural sound enhance its contemplative mood. The use of sound emits thus allows viewers to absorb the atmosphere and reflection on imagery and the themes. The sound design emphasizing the contrast between the choice of battle and the serenity of nature, reinforcing the philosophically quality, impact, and critical receptions. The film Red Lines received widespread critical acclaim upon release, with many praising its articles. Vision's depth and spiritual resonance. I was nominated for 7 Academic Awards, including Best Picture and Best Actor, and themes. The sound design emphasized the contrast between the choice of battle and certainty of nature, reinforcing the film's philosophical uh, duality. Impact and critical receptions. The Thin Red Lines received widespread critical acclaim upon, upon release, with many praising its artistic vision, depth, and spiritual resonance. It was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Actor, and won the Golden Spear and the Berlin International Film Festivals. Will impact and critical receptions. The Thin Red Line received widespread critical acclaim upon release, with many praising its artistic vision, depth, and spiritual reasons it was nominated for 7 allowed it as a masterpiece of modern cinema as existential meditation that elevates the war genre to a higher philosophical plane. Final thought. In conclusion, The Thin Red Line is a deeply contemplative film that transcends readily the war movie. It initial viewers to popular the profound questions of life, depth, and morality. Thought stunning visuals, poetic narrative, ponder the profound questions of life, death, and morality, and introspections. For this willing of embrace its meditation, peace, and philosophical depth in red lines offer a powerful reflection of the human's conditions amidst or for war. In-depth review of The Thin Red Line 1998. Directed by Terence Malick, The Thin Red Line is not just a war film, it is a poetic exploration of human existence, morality, nature, and spirituality. Released in 1998, the film stands as a monumental piece of cinema that challenged morality, nature, and spiritual. Released in storyline method and war genre convention. It is a meditation on the profound and often contemporary experience of soldiers caught in jaws of war, chat against the lust, defend the beauty of nature, artistic vision, and cinematic style. Terence Malick's distinctive acting visions as evident throughout the thin red line is film visuals love in rich, layered, and almost hypnotic, employing sweeping panoramic shot of the Pacific Island lands, dense jungle, and turbulent seas. Cinematography led by John Toll capture the nature's worldwide pacing and contemplative for story Malik use of natural light, material color, platelets, and slow motion creates a dreamlike atmosphere, blurring the line between the reality and spiritually. Meaning and introspection, themes and philosophical understanding war as reflections of humanity nature. It is a core the film. Red lines explore the cruelty of human nature, that especially for both cruelty and compassion. It questions whether war reveals the true nature of mankind or whether it is a tragic dis- distortions of the human inherent goodness. The film suggests that violence and beauty coexist often intertwined, reflecting the complex moral landscape human navigates life, death, and the transition of existence. Line, death, and the transition of existence. The films repeatedly confirm morality. Soldiers are actually aware of how fragile life is. Mm, The film repeatedly confirms morality. Soldiers are actually aware of how fragile life is, and death is portrayed both as an invisible force of nature and as an individual's daily scans for combat are juxtaposed with Seren's image of nature cycles with crashing leaf-feeding animals in their habits, highlighting the impermanence of life, spiritual inquiries, and divine presence. Malik influenced the film filled with the spiritual overtones, contemplative, and the presence of good in war and peace. Character often ponder divine existence, morality, and grace amid shoes. The natural world is depicted as in divine creating and moment of grace are found, found in acts of kindness, love, and acceptance. The humans uh, suggest that divine beauty perishes even the darkest moment of human history. The independence of nature. Nature is depicted as was powerful and indifferent of human conflict. The ocean, trees, and animals are silent witness to the violence inflicted by him. This difference underscores the idea that humans are small and transist in the grand sense of universal, yet their actions have profound consequences, memory, and reflections. Uh, the narrative often shifts between present moment of battle and reflections memory, emphasizing the importance of memory in shaping identity. Soldier recollections serve as a means of understanding their inner world and grappling with the moral ambiguities of war, character, and performance. The thin red lines feature an assembled cast of talented actors, each portraying complex, introspective characters. Their performances are understand emphasizing internal struggle over external heroism. Seeing Penn as a lieutenant with embodies a spiritual, almost mystery figure who questions the purpose of war and seek divine connections amidst chaos. Adrien Brody portrays a young soldier confronting fear and moral dilemmas, embodying innocence and vulnerability, which are scholarly play and conflicted over terms between leadership and capacity zones. She really would and other contribute now to performance that explore themes of faith, doubt, and human resilience. The characters are not archetypical soldiers but are depicted as deeply human, flavored, searching, and contemplative. Their dialogues are often replaced by expressive silence and evocating visuals which deepen the emotional impact. Sound and music. The sound designs and soundtrack are integral to the film's meditative atmosphere. The use of classical compositors such as work by birds and the natural sound view find animal calls create an impressive auditory landscape. Silence is used to powerful to evoke reflection and emphasizing the Solomon's tone. The music underscores the film's spiritual dimensions, lifting scans into a realism of trance in the combination of sound and visual enhance the viewer's emotions and philosophical engagement, impact, and critical receptions. The theme Redline was highly acclaimed, critically praised for its artistry, depth, and philosophically riches. It was nominated for seven Academic Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Adapted Screenplay. It also won the Golden Globe at the Berlin International Film Festival. While some viewers found it slow pacing and abstract style challenging, many praised it as a masterpiece and essential work that elevates the war film genre into a realm of poetic and spiritual cinema. Its influence extend beyond traditional filmmaking, inspiring filmmaking and artistic interested in exploring themes, broader culture and cinematic significance. The thin red line is often contrasted with the more action oriented war film like Saving Private Ryan or a Full Metal Jacket. Malek approach is less about depicting combat quietly and more about examining the philosophically and emotional toll of war. It asks a profound question: what does it mean to be human? How do we find meaning? Is suffering in this grass even amid our the film's poetic style and philosophical inequality make it a reflection on the universal human condition. It challenges you to confront uncomfortable truth and seek understanding beyond superficial narratives. Final reflections is some the thin red line is a monumental achievement in cinema that defines easy categorization. It is deeply contemplative, visual, stirring, and a morally complex film that invited viewers into profound dialogues about life, death, and he divines it meditative, peace, poetic narrative, and spiritual themes make it a unique experience, one that demands patience, interruptions, and opens. The film is not barely a description of war, but universal meditations of the nature of existence itself. It reminds us that amidst chaos there is beauty, amidst suffering there is grace, and is the face of morality there is a hope. An exhaustive and in-depth analysis of the Thin Red Line 1998, directed by Terence Malick. The Thin Red Line is widely regarded as one of the most poetic, philosophically rich, and visually stunning films ever made about war, unlike conventions for movies that focus on action, heroism, and technical detail. Malick's masterpiece is an introspective meditation on human existence, morality, spirituals, and the natural world. Released in 1998 after a year of development, it was met with widespread critical acclaim and has since been regarded as a landmark in art cinema. Artistic visions and cinematic approach. From the very first frame, the thin line embeds viewers in a dreamlike, almost hypnotic atmosphere. Terence Malick's signature style is evident throughout: slow pacing, poetic narrative, luminous cinematography, and layered soundscape. The film enhances conventional narrative linearity, intense weaving together multiple perspectives and memories, creating a tapestry of human experience amid the chaos of war. Cinematography. So, store cinematography capture the loose beauty and the indifference of nature with breathing uh, clarity, wide sorts of tropical landscape, crashing oceans view, dense jungles and wildlife evoke a sense of grandeur and timelessness. These images serve as a stark contrast to the violence and bloodshed of the battlefield, emphasizing the duality of life, its fragility and resilience. Editing and fishing. Malik's employs of deliberate, editing style that allows moment of silence and stillness to resonate. The pacing includes reflection, inviting viewers to inhabit the soldier's inner worlds. The editing often fragment the narrative, jumping between characters, thought, memories, and philosophical music, creating a layered, multi-dimensional experience. Narrative structure. Instead of straightforward chronologically account, the film present a non-initial of sketch, thought, and reflection voice over that it draws from the characters' inner monologues, poetic and philosophically reflection guide viewers throughout this integral landscape. The approach foster a meditative tones emphasizing introspective our actions. Major themes and philosophically understanding the true nature of humanity, violence, and compassion. Central of the film is the explorations of human security or capacity for both the destructions and the love. Soldiers on both sides are portrayed as complex beings capable of cruelty and kindness, fear and accused malignancies, whether was expose the true nature of mankind or will it is a tragic destruction of our internal goodness, the trances of life and death thought out. The film, the fragility of life is emphasized, scans of comment are juxtaposed with Sarah's image of nature view crashing, revealing animals in their habitual highlighting life, feeling nature the comforting morality leads or portraying death on both an individual combating force and personal fragile spiritual increase and divine presence. The thin red line is influenced with spiritual themes, characters seek divine meaning, and souls pointing the existence of good, grace, and salvations. The natural world is depicted as a divine creative and moment of transition, act of compassion, love of away are depicted as glimpse of the divine, the indifference of nature. Nature is portrayed as vast, powerful, and indifferent of to human conflict as oceans, trees, animals, and the landscape are silent witness to human violence, underscoring the idea that the universe operates beyond human moralities and the press invites reflection on humanity's smallness and the cosmic scopes of existence. Memory, reflections, and inner turmoil. Memory plays a crucial role in shaping the character's identities. Their recollecting, often poetic and philosophical, serve as a means of making sense of their experience. The films emphasizing that understanding oneself requires comforting both the beauty and brutality of life, character and performance. The thin red line features a large ensemble cast. Each actor embodies a character with depth and internal conflict. Their performance as sub but powerful, emphasizing internal struggle rather than external lyrics. Sean Penn linked within embodies spiritual God-like figure. Portal is contemplative questions the purpose of war and seeking divine connections. Adrien Brody as a young soldier hunted by fear and moral dilemmas brought capture innocence and vulnerability. George Colony conflicted upwards between duty and compassion. Colony's performance layer of moral ambiguity. John serially good Harrelson, Nick Nolte, and other contribute to now portrayal of soldiers grappling with existential questions. The characters are not well stereotyped, they are richly humanized with their fears of doubt and faith. Explore thought sparse but meaningful dialogues, expressive silence, and evocating visuals. Soundtrack and sound design. The film auditory landscape is as important as its visual and stunning ground feature classical compositions such as beach, glamours, spiritual and nature soundtrack view guide animals calls that create a deeply immersive experience. Soundtrack is used to evoke emotions and underscore themes and silence is employed powerfully emphasizing moments of reflection, grief, uh, transcends the nature of sound is important, powerful, emphasizing moment of reflection, grief, or transcends the nature that sound of the jungle and ocean serve as a reminder of the subtly indifferently universe in which human conflict unfold Impact, reception, and legacy. The Thin Red Line was critically acclaimed and received numerous awards, including seven Academy Awards nominations. Critics lauded its supporting visuals, philosophical depth, and technical mystery thought. Some found its pace and abstract style challenging. Over time, it has been embraced as a masterpiece, a film that elevates the war genre to a for, form of spiritual and philosophical inquiry. Its influence extends into art, cinema, impressing filmmaking, and artistic interested in exploring profound themes, thought, visual poetry, war, cultural and cinematic significations. Many films stand as a stark contrast to more physical actions oriented war film like Saving Private Ryan Bell. Does film focus on heroism and the tactical details? The Thin Red Line emphasizing the inner lives of soldiers, the moral ambiguities they face, and the universal questions about existence. It is also reflection on the nature of violence itself, how war reveals both the darkness and the divine within humanity. Malik's approach in which used to see for merely as a historical event but as a mirror held up to human nature, morality, and spiritually. Personal reflection and final thought. The Thin Red Line is experience rather than just film. It demands patience, reflection, and openness. Its slow pace and poetic narratives may challenge viewers expecting conventional storytelling, but those willing to embrace its meditative nature will find a profound, transformative experience. The film asks essential question: what is the meaning of life and day? How do we find grace amidst suffering? Can beauty and love exist alone? Violence and ultimately in it suggests then it in the soul of warmth and life there are moments of divine grace it only we are willing to see them in such the thin red line is cinematic masterpiece transcend the war genre offering a universal meditation of the human condition. It is film that Rainer in the minus and spiritual invasion, ongoing reflection from it to the credit rolls. An exhaustive deep dive analysis of the Thin Red Line 1998, the cinematic poem of war and humanity. Directed by Terence Malick, the Thin Red Line stands as an extraordinary achievement in cinema, a film that defies traditional storytelling and elevates the war genre into an art form the, that confront the fundamental question of existence, morality, spirituality, and the human conditions released in 1998 after years of meticulous development. The film's reception has only grown stronger over time, held as a masterpiece that invites profound reflection and poetic contemplations, artistic vision, and stylistic mystery. Transmedic unique filmmaking style is at the core of the thin red line from the opening shot viewers and transported into a transcendent realm where the nature, fault, and humans experience intertwine seamlessly. The film employs a meditative, almost hyponic visual style will characterize luminous cinematography. John Stoll's cinematography captured the lush, vibrant landscape of the Pacific Ridgeland, verdant jungles, shaping seas as majestic mountains, creating a sense of overwhelming beauty and divine creators. This image serves as a stark contrast to into violence of war, emphasizing the duality of life and death, security and slow Pandey's pacing. The film deliberation pacing allows genre scans are to unfold within patience, encouraging viewers to embrace himself fully in the contemplative mode. Silence. The styles are used as power tools, giving a space of reflection and emotional resonance. Poetic narratives and voice over Malik's signature use of poetic narratives draws from the characters' inner monologues, poetic and philosophically text guides viewers thought the complex landscape of thought out and feeling is narrative device below ordinary boundaries between external reality and internal conjugations, creating a layered multi-dimensional experience. Non-linear structure. The narratives view between different characters, memories, and philosophical reflections, avoiding chronologically linear intense. It functions as a musical of human experience, emphasizing the universal and timeless of the themes explored later is a light and a color palette. The film's visual essential relies heavily on nature light with muted earthy tones that evoke both the serenity and the brutality of nature. This approach reinforces the idea that the universe appreciates beyond humans' morality and indifferent majestic force. Thematic depth and philosophically inquiry. And the theme red line is not merely is for film, it's philosophically meditations on the nature of existence, morality, divine presence, and paradox of human life. Its themes are woven into every sketch, dialogues, and visually motifs, encouraging viewers to reflect on profound truth, the duality of human nature's violence and comparison of central themes. It is the duality inherent in humans. Pagan soldiers are portrayed as complex entities capable of youth inimitable securely and act of kindness, love, and grace. Malik's present for as requable that reveal both the darkness and lighting within humanity, posing questions about whether violence is an essential part of the human conditions of tragic destructions, transitions, and eternality, life and death. Thought of the film modality is a constant presence scans or combined traits and decay are juxtaposed within impact image of nature cycle, leaves filling view, crashing animals and their habitats, highlighting the fleeting nature of life. The film suggests that death is both an individual tragedy and part of the universe's grand design, spiritually and divine presence. Malik explored the spiritual dimension of war and life itself. Characters seek meaning and divine connections amid such and the natural awards it depicted as an divine creating and moment of grace, acts of sacrifice, compassion of way serve as glimpses of the divine within the human experience. The film implying that glimpse can be found in love, forgiveness, and understanding the indifferent of nature. Nature is portrayed as vast, indifferent, and unjudged. The oceans, mountains, the wildlife observe humans conflicted with our moral judgment. The indifference underscored the idea that humans are small in the cosmic scale and that their conflicts are ultimately significant in the grand sense of the universe. Memory, reflection, and inner turmoil. Memory plays a crucial role in shaping the character's identity. The film delves into how past experience, memories, and philosophically reflects and influence present actions and perspective. It emphasizing that understanding oneself requires confronting both the beauty and the brutality of life, the illusion of glory and heroism. Malik critically examines notice of heroism and glory associated with the war intents of glorifying combat. He depicted soldiers as vulnerable, hunted as assassins for winning amid shows the idea that war is noble or glorious. Its challenge throughout the film, emphasizing its vital and destructive nature. Characters' performance, the human complexity, the red lines, features sprawling cast characters embodying different bits of the humans experience. Their performance are subdued, introspective, and emotionally is emphasizing internal struggle rather than external reason. Seen Pain, Lieutenant Wet, portrayed as a contemplative, almost mystical figure. Pain's characters seek divine connections and question the purpose of war. Is our reflection, spiritual longing, and philosophical inquiry. Adrien Brody Brevity as a young soldier confronting fear and moral dilemmas, capture innocence and vulnerability, embodying the universal human struggle to find peace and amidst Nick Nolte, John Seeley, Rodley Harrelson, and others each contribute nouns to portraits of soldiers grappling with morality, feeling doubt, and the search for meaning. The characters are not archetypes but deeply humanized with their fear, hopes, and moral struggle. Explored through the sparse dialogue, expansive sense, silence, and evocating visuals, their internal world arc has importance as their external action. Soundscape and music, the heart of the film, meditate power. The film's sound designs and the music are integral to its meditative news. The soundtrack features classical compositions such as bass of Goldberg, visual and nature soundtrack. View winds animals, cars, trees that skate and impressive atmospheres. Atmosphere sound is used to evoke emotional and the score themes of transcendence, novelty, and divine beauty. Silence is employed powerfully to highlight moments of grief away for introspection. The natural sound serve as a reminder for sublime if different universe in which human conflicts unfold. Critical reception awarded legacy. The thin red line was lauded by critics and received numerous accolades, including seven Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Adapted Screenplay. It won the Golden Bear at the Berlin International Film Festival. With some audience found its slow pace and abstract styles, clearing many regarded as it as a profound masterpiece, an artistic achievement that elevates the war film or to a spiritual and philosophical meditation. Its influence of filmmaking and artistic conflict to be felt inspiring a new appreciation for cinema as a from a contemplative art. Cultural and cinematic significations. The thin red line contrasts sharply with more conventional war films like Saving Private Ryan or Full Metal Jacket, where the film emphasizes action, heroism, and tactical details. Malik's film emphasizing the internal moral and spiritual dimensions of war. It invites viewers to contemplative questions such as what is the true nature of heroism? How does war reveal the best and the worst in humanity? Can grace and beauty exist alongside violence and personal reflection and final thought. The thin red line is a immersive contemplative experience that demands patience and opens its poetic narrative, stunning visuals, and philosophically depth make it more than just a film, it's a spiritual journey. It challenges you to confront uncomfortable truth about war, morality, and divides. It reminds us that even is so there is beauty even in suffering. There is grace, and amid the dark there is light to be found if we are willing to look. Ultimately, Malik's masterpiece is a profound reminder of the inner interpretation of all time and enduring quest for meaning. It in a fragile, fleeting world. And in depth exhaustive analysis of the Thin Red Line 1998, a cinematic meditation on war, humanity, and existence, directed by Terence Malick. The Thin Red Line is a monumental achievement in cinema, an epic poetic exploration that elevates the genre of war film into a profound philosophical and spiritual meditation released after their year of meticulous development. The film has maintained its place as a timeless masterpiece, renowned for its lyric visual style, contemplative tone, and philosophical depth. This analysis aims to explore every fact of the film, its artistic mystery, thematic research, character complexity, cultural impact, and enduring legacy, delving into the layer of meaning that make it one of the most profound films ever made about human existence and conflict articles with and stylistic excellence. Terence Malick's calamity style is characterized by a poetic, almost hypnotic approach that embraces viewers in transcend experience that film aesthetic and technical choice serve to evoke both the grandeur and fragility of life. Visual composition. Artistic vision and stylized excellence. Terence Malick's filmmaking style is characterized by a poetic, almost hypnotic approach that immerses you in a transcendent experience. The film aesthetic and technical choices to evoke both the grandeur and the fragility live visual compositions, cinematography by John Stoll. The visual language of the theme that red lights in breathtaking tools, camera capture the lush, vibrant landscape of the Pacific Island verdant jungles, shimmering scenes and towering mountains with painstaking care. The use of nature light enhance the origin's beauty, irritating and luminous, almost diving quality to the image. Wide shots emphasize the vast vastness of nature and human significance, while close-ups reveal the nuanced expressions of soldiers embodying vulnerability, contemplativity, and inner conflict. Color palettes. The film employ a muted earthed color palette, creating brows also that reflect the nature world raw beauty and identifies. These colors serve as a visual reminder of the universe, timeless and fleeting nature of human life, pacing and editing. Malick editing style is slow, deliberate, and poetic scans unfold with patience, allowing moment of silence and stylize or carry emotional weight. The editing often fragment the narrative, jumping between characters' memories, philosophical reflection, and external event, creating a layered, kaleidoscopic view of war and humanity. Sound design and music. The soundscape in integrals blending natural sound. You wind animal calls with the subtle score, classic compositions, not only bass callbacks, vibrations, wind cues, the film giving moment of reflection and transcends silence and used powerfully emphasizing grief away for spiritual longing, thematic riches, and philosophical inquiry. The thin red line is philosophical meditation that explore the fundamental questions of a human's existence, morality, identity, and the nature of what its themes are woven into every sketch and visual motif. The paradox of war, violence, and beauty. The film examines war as a paradox or an era where brutality and grace coexist. Soldiers are portrayed as a complex beings capable of both honest acts and act of love and sacrifice. Malik suggests that for expose duality within all humans, the capacity of destruction and creation, the transitions of life and remains of memory. Thought out the film scales of combat and death are juxtaposed with the image of natural cycles, falling leaves, crashing views, animals in their habits, highlighting life, flatting nature's characters, reflection reveal an awareness of morality, emphasizing that life is a fragile, transient gift. Spirituality, divinity, and grace. The natural world is deviated as divine in moment of transcendence, act of compositions, prayer away, serve as glimpses of divine characters, seek meaning and divine connection amid shows suggestion that grace is accessible even in the darkest moment. The difference of nature and the universe nature is portrayed as a vast, the indifferent, the oceans, mountain, and the wilderness. Observe human conflict without moral judgment, emphasizing the significance of individual struggles in the cosmic scale. This perspective negates humanity and reflection on humanity place in the universe, memory, reflection, and inner small uh, memory function as a narrative device, connection past and present, internal and extend worlds, characters, collect recollections, and philosophical missing. Explore, explore the process of understanding oneself and the universe, underscoring that truth is often elusive and complex. Sustaining glory and heroism. Malik critically examined the romanticized notice of heroism associated with war. Instead, the film presents soldiers as vulnerable, hunted individuals seeking purpose. It challenges it The idea that war is noble, portraying it as struggle and senseless and timeless characters and performance the humans face for war. The, the thin red line feature as ensemble cast of actors who embody a spectrum of humanity, emotion, and moral dilemmas. Their performances are subtle, introspective, and deeply human. Seen Penn lucent within a spiritual figure and contemplative figures when portraits reflect a longing for divine connections and understanding himself. His voice over is poetic and philosophically Adrien Brody private a young soldiers confronting fear broad and moral conflict Brody embodies innocence and vulnerability representing the universe human quest for peace. George Clooney stares a conflict of officer turns between duty and composition's colony. Performance adds moral ambiguity, illustrating internal struggle. Nick Norton Jones really nobody Harris Lanson Jones Travolta and other. Each actor contribute nouns portrays of social hunted by morality, faith, and doubt, emphasizing their internal world over external heroism. The characters are richly humanized within their fears, hopes, and moral struggles, explore thought, sparse dialogues, expansive silence, and evocating visuals, the power of sound and music. The film arbitrary landscape complement its visual poetry. The soundtrack featured classic compositions such as Beach Cold Park, Valerians, and Nature. Soundtrack use wind animals calls that evoke a sense of succession and away. Sound designs employ silence of highlight moment of grief, reflection of transcendence, the natural sound serve as a reminder of the universal identifiant and grandeur. Critical reception and legacy. The thin red lines were universally acclaimed by critics and received several awards, including seven Oscar nominations. It was praised for its poetic visions, philosophical depth, and technical mystery. Thought some viewers found its pace challenging. Over time, it has been recognized as a cinematic masterpiece, an art film that elevates the war genre into spiritual exploration. Its influence extends into contemporary cinema, inspiring filmmakers to pursue poetic storytelling and philosophical inquiry. Cultural and cinematic significance. The film stands in stark contrast to action-oriented war movies like Saving Private Ryan. Thus, film emphasizing heroism and tactical details. The thin red line emphasizes the inner moral and spiritual landscape of soldiers question the very nature of war. It prompts you to consider the true meaning of heroism and sacrifice, the moral ambiguity of war. divine presence in every act of love and kindness, the interconnectedness of life and death. Balak film invites a contemplative, almost meditative engagement with these universal themes, elevating themes as from a spiritual and philosophical expansions, thematic and symbolic elements. The ocean and nature and symbol. The ocean appears repeatedly as a symbol of passions, mystery, and endurance. You represent the unstoppable force of nature and the sea, the flow of life and death. Trees, animals, and landscapes symbolize divine creations and the internal cycle, light and darkness. Malik implies contrasting, embracing light and shadow, symbolize divine presence and the human's ignorance. Light often appears during moment of trance of insight, where darkness curlent, the where confusion violent of despair. The use of poetry and literature. The film incorporate poetic text, biblical reference, and philosophical quotes, increasing its spiritual dimension. These elements serve as reminders of humanity, its quest for meaning beyond material existence. Personal reflection, the experience of watching the thin red lines. Watching thin red line is an immersive journey that challenges conventional expansions of war. Film its slow pace, poetic realism, and philosophical depth require listens and opens. The film asks viewers to look beyond the surface and confront uncomfortable truth about life, death, and the divine. It innovates a sense of reverence for life and regarding to the secret within ordinary moment. It underscores that grace and transcendence are sensible even amidst sorrow and suffering. Final words, the lasting impact and enduring element. The thin red lines remains one of the most profound cinematic explorations of war and humans' existence. Its poetic approach, philosophical inquiry, and visual splendor continue to resonate with the audience, and filmmakers like a challenge us to see war not just as a historical event but as a mm, mirror reflecting to the deepest aspect of ourselves. Music masterpiece remind us that mind darkness there is always a spark of divine light, and that understanding of sorrow and the universe requires both cues and humility. It is a film that Lionel is the mind and spirit offering endless layer of meaning to those willing to seek them. हेलो गाइस, कैसे हो आप सभी लोग? बढ़िया हो? मेरी दी हुई स्पीच आपको कैसी लग रही है? अगर अच्छी लगे तो लाइक कीजिए, कमेंट कीजिए और जय हो बोलिए। थैंक यू गाइस। अभी हमारे पास लगभग 13 मिनट का रिव्यू बाकी है, तो अभी हम करते हैं, हमारा नेट स्लो है। An epic in-depth examination of the thin red line, 1998, philosophical and artistry into war and humanity. Directed by Terence Malick, the thin red line is widely regarded one of the most profound war films ever. Harry made a cinematic poem that seeks not only to depict the brutality of combat but to explore the very sense of human existence, morality, spiritual, and the interconnections of all life. This film is monumental achievement in artistic cinema, brutally visual poetry, philosophical inquiry, and spiritual reflection into a cohesive world that challenge, inspire, and transforms its viewers. This complex analysis will delve into every facet of the film, its aesthetics, mystery, thematic depth, philosophical visions, characters, complexity, cultural significance, and enduring legacy, striving to prove an existing understanding and appearance of this momentum work. Artistic visuals. Vision and stylized mystery. Trans Malik's signature filmmaking style is characterized by poetic imagery, contemplative pacing, and philosophical lesson. The thin red lines explain the style transforms the conventions for film into a immersive meditative experience. Visual compositive and cinematography. John Stoll cinematography is at the heart of the film. Aesthetic thought and extensive use of nature, light, and sweeping camera movement. Tool captured the loose landscape of the passive island, verdant jungle, clear water, and majestic mountains, highlighting the diverse beauty of creations. The image evokes a sense of awe, emphasizing the contrast between the serenity of nature and the shoes of a war, while escape sought that showcase the grandeur, the indifference of nature, antenatal close-ups of soldiers' face, revealing vulnerability, doubt, and inner conflict formation sequence that elevates moment of reflection and trans use of nature light that breath sense in luminous glow creating a scarred almost holy and beneath editing. Milk employs a slow paced pacing, allowing scans to read and resonate emotionally. The Editing is a fragmented environment, different characters, perspectives, memorable and philosophically reflection, creating a mosaic of a human experience that underscores the vulnerability of war, moral diamonds, soundscape, and the music. The film's auditory environment is carefully crafted. Natural sound, views crashing, and wind stalling. Animal calls are layered by a structural music score, classic compositions, notably Jones's spiritual plans. Silence is used intelligently to heighten emotional impact during moment of grief, awake or realizations, use of light and shadow, malic expressions of light and darkness, symbolism, divine presence and human ignorance, light confunes violence and the violence or disappear, thematic depth and philosophical inquiry. The thin red line is more than depreciations. Curie, the thin red line is more than depreciations of war, where it is a profound meditation on life, death, morality, divinity, and the nature of existence itself. Themes are woven seamlessly into the narratives, visuals, and narratives. The paradox of war, violence, and grace. The film explored the paradox of war in both fabric and beautiful sources commit acts of brutality but are also capable of acts of love, sacrifice, and kindness. Malik suggests that war exposes the duality within all humans, the capacity for destructions and creating wrestling questions of whether violence is an inherent part of human nature of fragile destroy. The fleeting nature of life and eternal thought out. Film's sense of combined death and decay are contrasted with the image of natural cycles. Leaves feeling you passing as your animals living and dying, highlighting the translate nature of existence, character, reflection underscore the importance of life and the importance of appreciating each moment. Spiritual dividing and grace. The natural world depicted as divines and a moment of trance. Acts of prayer, compassion, or away serve as glimpses of the divines within the human experience. The film suggests that grace can be found in acts of love and understanding, even amid choice and destruction. The independence of nature and the universe. Nature is portrayed as vast and different as enduring the oceans, mountains, wilderness, observe human conflict, passively emphasizing the significance of individual struggle in the cosmic scale. This perspective includes humility and spiritual humility, memory, reflection, and mental voice. Memory days plays a crucial role as characters' role actions and philosophical musing reveals their internal struggle and each for meaning. The film underscoring oneself that the universe requires comforting both beauty and brutality. Question glory and heroism very critically examine traditional notice of heroism and glory as T represent soldiers as voluntarily hunted individuals seeking purpose. The idea that war is noble or heroic, it's a challenge emphasizing its tragic and destructive nature. Character and performance, the human face of what film feature a large assembled cast each embodying different phases of human experience and moral reflection. Their performance are understand and respective and emotionally rich. See pain, ritual within portal as a manipulative, almost physically figure seeking divine connection and shows his voice ever reflect a spiritual longing and philosophically inquiry. Adrien Brody Private represent innocent and voluntarily controlling fear and ultimacy internal struggles embodying the universal human quest for peace. George Colony stars a conflict officer storms between duty and compassion, illustrating moral ambiguity. Eclotal Jones really Woody Harrison's from Travolta and other. Each actor contributes nouns, photos of soldiers hunted by morality, faith, and doubt, emphasizing their internal world over external heroics, the humanity behind the war, the performance emphasizing the sheer humanity of all characters, transcending stereotypes of self-reveals, universal struggle with the existential question. Their silent moment, gesture, and expressions convey the depth of their inner conflict, the power of sound and music elevating the spiritual tone. The film sound design and music are integral. It's a meditative power of soundtrack, classic, compositive nature sound, and sparse score evokes scarred atmosphere. Natural soundtrack serve as a reminder of the universe grandeur and indifferent classical music elements scans of reflection, spiritual awakening, mottos, tragedy, silence, heightens emotions, impact, creating moment of grief and insight, critical receptions of world and cultural impact. The Green Red Line received widespread critical acclaim, earning several Academy Award nominations, including Best Pictures and Best Direction, and winning the Golden Bears at the Brilliant International Film Festival. Critical praised its poetic visions, philosophical depth, and technical mystery, while some audience found it slow, peace and abstract style challenging. It has since been recognized as a cinematic masterpiece of work for that relevant and the art of filmmaking to spiritual and philosophically legal influence and legacy. The film influence extend beyond the cinema, inspiring filmmakers, artists, and thinkers to pursue poetic experience or external actions, cultural and philosophical significance. The thin red line stand in stark contrast to action-driven war film. Instead of glorifying combat, it questions the morality and pursuit of war itself, prompting reflection on fundamental human values. Core questions include what is the true nature of heroism? Can grace and brutality exist alongside violence? Through how do we find meaning in suffering? Is the war an individual expansion of human nature, or can it be transcend? The film invites viewers to confront their question with humanity, compassion, and introspection.